Welcome to the Harnessing Happiness podcast. Upbeat vibes generated and transferred to you. Now here's your host, Sarah J Naylor.
Hello and welcome to Harnessing Happiness with myself, Sarah J Naylor. Thank you so much for hopping on by and tuning in and joining me. Today I have the fabulous Charlie Plunkett with me. She's just absolutely amazing, and I'm going to hand over to her so she can introduce herself. So over to you, Charlie. Please do introduce your fabulous self to my wonderful listeners.
Oh my goodness, that was a lovely welcome. I'm feeling all warm and glowing inside. So yeah, I'm Charlie Plunkett and I am a ballet teacher by kind of trade. And I also do a lot of work around mindset. And I have just literally over the last couple of years really delved deeply into this and have created a brand new modality called Chi Ballet, which is body of a ballerina, mind of a monk, without needing to be a ballerina or a monk. And so that's what I'm known as. Chi Ballet.
Yes, and it's fabulous. You're also rather known for wearing a tutu, aren't you, as well?
I am partial to wearing a tutu at every opportunity. And I am so excited, this is the year of the tutu.
Oh,
really?
I
mean, the whole year I feel like I've got, the go ahead. And I've already said to the ladies that I teach to kind of just leave a space in their diaries on the 22nd of the 2nd, 22, because that is going to be 2222.
Oh, wow.
So,
yes.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's going to be
a
tutu. I'm not sure how many tutus that's going to involve, but a lot.
So is it really the year of the tutu?
No, I made that up.
Oh, you made it up? Oh, because it's 2022. Tutu.
My students, it's a thing. I have Tutu Tuesday. So I have a Facebook group, and every Tuesday it's like, Happy Tutu Tuesday. And I'll either put a picture of one of my many tutus, or I will, find a pretty one.
Yes, you've got a lot of tutus as well, haven't you? How many have you got?
I really couldn't divulge. I could actually, because my husband's not listening. Probably about 70. They've not all been out in one go, so it's very hard to tell. And they're very easily sort of squishable. Chewel is very forgiving when you shove it in the wardrobe.
But they are beautiful. I mean, I've seen a lot of pictures of you wearing tutus, and they are the most beautiful, sort of elegant and fun sort of. Yeah, there's so much character to a tutu, isn't there? I can't believe we're actually having a conversation about tutus, but it's just brilliant because it brings happiness, doesn't it? It makes you happy, and whenever everybody sees you wearing a tutu, people are happy seeing you wearing a tutu too.
Exactly. And you know what? When I teach my ballet classes on Zoom, my ladies have started, so we'll start the class like in regular, leotard and tights and a little skirt. And then we do the bar and I'll say, okay, have a drink, turn the heating, because sometimes, because we're all at home, people think, oh, it's a bit chilly. And then come the end of the bar, they're like, so I'm like, turn the heating off, open a window, put your tutus on. And more and more and more of the ladies that I teach are wearing tutus. And what's so kind of, I suppose, empowering is these are women that would, a year ago, have not even felt confident to have worn a leotard and tights in a ballet class.
Wow.
And putting a tutu on, owning it, saying, do you know what? My living room's on the, by the street, and I'm sure people are thinking, what is that woman wearing?
But that's brilliant, isn't it? It's channeling that sort of inner vibe, and that's what it is. It's doing what makes your heart sing. And if you could doing something that's fun, that you feel a bit sort of like, yeah, it's that inner child. It's embracing it. It's doing something that brings joy to your life, and that's what I'm all about. And I'd love to encourage people to do that and to embrace it. And you're doing that in Tutu Fools.
I'll know what to buy you for your birthday, Sarah.
Yes, I'll have to have a tutu. Yes, absolutely. And in fact, I was just thinking, gosh, you'll do it by Zoom. Maybe I have to go back and do a bit of online ballet avec toi.
I am a great encourager that every woman should give it a go. I like to think of myself as kind of like the remedy to possibly if you did ballet when you were a child and you had like a really strict ballet teacher, because I had many strict ballet teachers, and they kind of sucked the fun out of it, if I'm honest. When you're a child and you're just, I want to be a ballerina. I mean, I'm still like that. And then you have a teacher going, put your shoulder down, do this, do that. You can't have a fringe, you can't wear nail polish.
Oh my gosh.
Is there anything else I can't do? Oh, you can't have your ears pierced. You can't wear makeup.
It's draconian.
And the strange thing is, it still is.
Really?
Yeah,
Gosh.
it still is. So I am the remedy to that. So I'm all about dancing for the love of it, for sharing that passion, and for that kind of period of time that where you're doing it, that everything else is just non-existent, that you're just dancing for the joy. And, obviously I do make sure that the technique and all of that's there, but it's not the main focus. It's about like beautifying your arms, feeling swan-like, just all those beautiful qualities. Do you know what? I will just explain what Sarah's doing. She's doing a perfect fifth position with her arms.
Ooh.
And she has the most beautiful fingers there. They're just very graceful.
Super.
It's perfect.
You haven't seen my my leggings and slippers, mind you. I don't think that's quite the right bottom half for a ballerina.
I think as long as you add a tutu, you're okay.
Fine. Well, you see, I did do ballet when I was very young. It was, when I say I did ballet, I went to the local village hall and had a few sort of ballet lessons. But at the time I was going swimming, and I think we were doing badminton. My mum had me doing all sorts of things as a young child. But it was decreed, because I was quite big for my age, that I was always going to be too tall to be a ballerina. So it was sort of like, that was one of the things that was sort of drawn a line underneath. I mean, to be fair, it was only sort of like that, running around a room and pretending to be a sort of a fairy and go and do different. It wasn't really anything serious. I probably only went about half a dozen times, but it was decreed that, well, you're going to be too tall to be a ballerina anyway, so we'll knock that one on the head.
These moments we have in our childhood where you were running around and feeling like a fairy. They're beautiful moments. I'm just 52 and still doing that.
Yes, absolutely.
Encouraging whole bands of women to do it with me.
I love all your backstory as well. I think it's so exciting, because when you told me that you ran away to join the circus, I mean, that was, do tell us more about that, because I mean, that's really going the whole hog. That's not just doing the ballet and having fun in an outfit. That's doing what we all secretly want to do.
Yes, so that was a fan. I still look at that and think, did that really, happen to me? But I suppose to kind of pot it down, from the age of 2, I knew I wanted to be a ballerina, and I, danced, and despite, the strict teachers, kept going and went to vocational dance school, which in itself was like stepping into Mallory Towers. Like, it was a boarding school, and that it was literally feasts every night, strict matrons, and you could get away with anything if you said you were dancing. So I do remember once climbing out of the prep study window when we should have been doing something academic, and I got caught by one of the principals, and you only ever saw the principals when you were auditioning for the school, and really special occasions, but literally they were like these kind of, people that you just never saw, and when you did, you were very well behaved. You certainly wouldn't have intentionally have had your leg halfway out of the window. And I remember him saying to me, "What are you doing?" And I said, and I'm a really honest person, but my 12-year-old self in sheer panic said, "I'm limbering up, sir." And he said, "Good, as you are." Yeah, so that was my boarding school, and that was very Enid Blyton. And then when I went to ballet college in Covent Garden, which again, Covent Garden, it's just like the hub of all things. And when I left, there used to be, well, there still is, a newspaper called The Stage.
Oh, yes.
We scoured through it looking for jobs. And there was an audition, it was around about the same time that the Spice Girls were doing an audition as well.
Oh,
so
wow.
I could have been in that.
Wow, yeah. Tell you what you want, what you really, really want. You really want to join the circus.
So yes, that was an interesting. They were both, I think, in the same bit of the paper, and so I went for this audition. It said Tahani requires dancers, and that was all the information there was. Tahani requires dancers, and I thought, okay, I'll go for it. And I didn't originally get the job. You talk about height. I wasn't tall enough, even though I had my CV that said I was a little bit taller than what I actually am. And I was standing as tall as I could, but there was some tall dancers in there. But then about a week later, I got a call to say that they really liked me and they would have me. And I was like, yeah, great. Where is it?
Mexico.
It's the world's largest travelling circus. And at that point, the furthest I'd been was on a ferry to France with my family.
Gosh. Oh,
so it was quite, and it was for 9 months. So it was quite a culture shock. It really was a culture shock to go from that to a third world country with total strangers in this circus that was beyond, even now, it gives me goosebumps.
Gosh, we've given me goosebumps, actually, strangely.
Yeah,
oh,
40
actually.
dancers from all around the world.
Wow.
This huge lorry that towed the circus. It was this giant checkerboard stage, and then we all lived in these trailers that kind of pulled out. They in themselves deserve an entire book. They were. It looked like a giant Arctic lorry, but when it stopped, it all concertinaed out, and there was probably about 20 of these little compartments that we lived in, and the bunk beds came down, and this. I mean, again, I took a bit of reintroducing back into society after that. But the shower tray was also where the toilet was, and the sink.
Oh my God.
And it was right by the door. So if you imagine like a train compartment.
Yeah.
So, and you were sharing it with someone you didn't know. And, but over 9 months, you got to know them pretty well. And all you had was a shower curtain. And sometimes, someone would come in to visit you and you'd just be sitting there on the toilet or in the shower. It's like, okay, let's draw that curtain.
And no inhibitions. Any inhibitions you've had have gone.
They had all gone. They really had. But it was incredible. It was kind of, it was somewhere where I got to use all the ballet training, but in a kind of more free way, because it was very much based. We always sort of jokingly said that the choreographer had gone to watch the Moulin Rouge in Paris and written all the steps down on a napkin because we had which all teachers were all take inspiration from other places, but it was very Moulin Rouge in style. We had the same music for our finale number, which still now gives me goosebumps.
Oh,
it's
wow.
that C'est Formidable. I think for a while a certain fizzy drink company used to use it at Christmas as their tune as well. So it's really one of those pieces of music you're just like, oh, and it was incredible. So, and then we got to tour America as well.
Oh my gosh.
It was the gift that kept on giving.
Yeah.
So this was going back 1989, so New Orleans, which was incredible.
Wow.
Miami. Where else did we go? Dallas and Monterey, I think it was.
Gosh. And so this was all in 9 months then? It's all in a 9 month period as well?
Yes. And then when I came back, I had to reintroduce my feet to shoes because I've been wearing flip-flops for 9 months.
Oh my gosh.
Ballet shoes.
Yeah. I was going to say, there must have been some ballet shoes in there somewhere.
Do you know what? Most of it was heels. I had never danced in heels. And which was good because I then was taller.
Yes.
But I remember there was me and one other dancer who'd never danced in heels, and they handed us these to me, I was like, what? And I remember, and they were really uncomfortable. And I so clearly remember putting them over the dressing room rail with all these beautiful costumes, which had all been hand sewn. And I remember hanging my shoes and swinging off of my shoes just to kind of make them break a bit, really.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of stretch them.
What an experience. And that was a 9 month period, but full of the texture and the richness and the vibrancy, the memories that you've got from that are just obviously quite clearly amazing, because you're still sort of really embracing them and coming alive when you talk about them, which is just amazing. So obviously you came back from all of that, and I know you came back and readjusted and ended up in sort of acting, didn't you, as well, or something?
That gained me my equity card, and so I came back. And, I did go off again. I did another dancing job in a casino in, where was that? Portugal, which is interesting. And, but then I kind of focused in on working in the film and television industry for probably about, it was years, decades. Yeah. And that's where I met my husband. So my husband on a film set, which was really lovely.
That sounds romantic, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was. It sounds romantic when I say it like that, but we were actually the only two people probably under the age of 70. And it was a night shoot, and it was really long hours, and it was in Canary Wharf before it was Canary Wharf.
Yeah.
And it was just an empty block of, And so we got chatting, and and then the rest, as they say, is history.
Yeah.
Married, and our lovely son, and he was a dancer as well, so we have that shared background.
Yes. Does he still dance now as well?
Only for me.
Oh. Does he wear a tutu though, Charlie?
No, he won't.
Oh, that's a shame. So do you know what? I've seen Matthew Bourne's Swan Lake with the guys wearing tutus, and it's just such an amazing ballet. It really, really is. And I've seen quite a few of Matthew Bourne's, and they're just fabulous ballets. They really, really, truly are. So now you're doing, you work as a ballet teacher, and you've combined chi energy in with the ballet, haven't you, as well? And so you do a lot of breath work, which is really important.
What I've noticed over certainly the last, I guess it's been a gradual knowing that the women that I teach are coming because they want to do ballet, and they want to, there's certain things that we all know ballet is great for, like your posture and, being flexible. And I want to be, a granny that, look, I can see Sarah's limbering up.
I'm doing some more limbering up.
But I want to be able to bend down and do up my shoelaces when I'm 85. So, we all know there's lots of health benefits, but I've noticed more that they want to feel. It's more about how you want to feel rather than, nobody says, I want to perfect a pas de chat today. That is on the top of my list of things to do. But they, for an hour, if I can help them feel really beautiful, really at ease in their bodies, and just really just full of joy, and that anything else that's been going on in their lives is just, like a puff of smoke, it's just kind of vanished. And that is why, that I blended the two together. So it's Qigong, which is, the sort of healing movement practice. Yes, Sarah's doing a little bit of Qigong.
And for those, for those of people who don't know what Qigong is, I mean, I know what Qigong is. I've practiced that with Tai Chi and Qigong in the past, and I've done my Reiki, etc. So I know more about it. But would you like to explain to the listener what Qigong actually is?
In brief, the way I see it is it's a healing movement. So when I came across it, I've trained with the Satori method, and they very much kind of, if I was to see some of these movements without having someone explain that it is Qigong, some of it is very similar to ballet. The movements of these arms coming up over your head, for example, are very similar to how we move in ballet, and they're very slow and they're very smooth and they're very mindful. And the way I teach ballet is very mindfully as well, as in rather than being maybe when you were a child and you were learning, and it's kind of like, it has to be here and it has to be there. I'm kind of like, let's flow the arms up and beautify, and it's all about how it feels. And so with the Qigong, the man that I studied with, he was a martial arts teacher, and he used to actively encourage his students to kind of take him down. And then one day, someone took him down, he couldn't get back up again, and he really, really had injured his back, and he healed it totally by using Qigong. But he was so injured that he actually started doing it just lying in his bed, because someone, for example, that wants to do ballet may have these preconceptions that, well, for starters, a lot of time people go, I'm too old, or I've never done it, or I'm too rusty, or I'm not flexible enough, or I don't look like a ballerina, or, I don't know how to speak French, and it's all in French. And I think, it's a similar thing with Qigong, that people think, it's a healing movement thing, I don't think I'll be able to do it. But we learn how to do it so you can show someone sitting down. And so what's lovely is to take some of these ballet movements and some of these Qigong movements, and I can say, so every day I have a practice that I do with my son that's a combination of Qigong, so we do like tapping down the arms. Because also, I know both of you and I are into EFT, emotional freedom technique.
Yes, absolutely.
Tapping,
yeah.
I'm tapping my chest now, a bit like how a gorilla taps its chest. And that is something that I'm very familiar with from EFT, emotional freedom technique, or tapping, but also in Qigong, they use it. And they'll also, like with sort of more of an energy medicine sort of feel to it, tapping right in the center of your chest, which boosts your immune system. So things like that, when I'm sharing them, or when I do them every morning with my son, you can do them sitting down.
Yes.
Obviously, ideally you do it standing up, and you put lots of, energy into it. If that's what you want, if it's the morning and you want energy, then we do it, tapping, and it's vigorous, and it's bouncing, and it's, flowing.
You see, that's also quite shamanic, isn't it? I mean, some of the stuff that I've seen shamanic, because it's all about the energy. I mean, our bodies are made up of atoms that are vibrating at a frequency that creates a solid form, and it's how they're vibrating. And actually, when we're starting to shake them up, we're moving them about, and that's what creates all that sort of movement of that energy and shifting things about, and that's what helps the body heal itself once you're actually moving things around. Because if things get stagnant, don't they? You get blockages, and if you've not moving stuff, and you need to have things moving, and that's what's important about our health and our well-being. And I know, even though myself, I've been out for an hour and 10 minutes walking this morning, and it was, I mean, we're recording today in Blighty in the cold, and I was thinking of you as well when I was walking, because I thought, because Charlie lives in Brighton, I'm thinking, it'd be lovely along by the seafront this morning, but it was really cold. But it's out there, and I'm walking, and I'm really enjoying it because my legs aren't. I've had a few issues, so I didn't want to run. But I work from home in a bungalow, and I don't get the movement that I ought to have on a day-to-day basis. So although I can be out there doing crazy things like sort of trail running and head torch running and running at doing outdoor swimming.
The photos, my goodness.
It's all a bit crazy.
You take it to an extreme level, you do.
It's just great fun. But, on a day-to-day basis, I get caught up. So I get into all my work that I'm doing, and I know I don't move enough. And all the things that you're saying, it's so important, that movement and that qigong and that energy. And the qigong that I learnt was very much about sort of moving and feeling that sort of energy between your hands. And
I love that when you rub your hands together and you kind of bring them in. Actually, years and years and years ago, in another part of my life, I used to work at a natural health centre, and a lot of this was introduced to me there because I was like their little kind of pet. Big. And so they'd walk in and inward walk in, the hypnotherapist, and she'd be like, how are you? And I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm okay. And she'd be like, come on in. And then she'd give me a free treatment, and then someone else would be, how are you? And I'd be like, oh, got a bit of cold. Come on in, have some aromatherapy. So I got very introduced to all of these alternative and amazing practices.
Qigong is just like this amazing energy, which we know about, and obviously you integrate that into your ballet, which is amazing. And obviously you've got this wonderful life going on. But what is it that makes you a happy person, Charlie?
I do think I am by nature a happy person, but it's not always been, like everybody, you have your ups and downs. But I must admit, I am someone that's very active in finding things that, I was, mentioned about when I used to work in a natural health centre. My eyes were very much open to all of these other things that you can do. And I like that feeling of empowerment that comes from me choosing. In more recent years, as I've qualified as an EFT coach, a law of attraction, and also when I was Reiki Master, we have that shared love of Reiki, which I qualified when my son was born. So that was, he's 13 now. So, I do that every single day. But yeah, I have been recently doing a lot of, I don't say work, 'cause it doesn't feel like work. It feels like curiosity. Yeah, I'm a very curious person. So I've been really, really delving into the laws of our minds and, that that empowering thought that I get to choose how I want to show up each day. And so I do that. And probably for the last, it's over a year now, every morning I have certain things that I do that I have noticed. Like last year, I think was the happiest I've been in my life.
Wow.
Bear in mind, some of the external factors, I put that down to how I have changed my attitude to certain things. And I guess what it is, I love analogies, but I like to think of myself as being like a conscious gardener. So my inner mind is my garden, and I get to choose what seeds I want to put in there.
Yes.
Because I know that if I don't sow the seeds, that they will seed from the outside world. So if the outside world, I don't watch the news, and I haven't done for decades.
No.
My husband tells me things that he thinks I need to know. In his nice way. But he's like my filter, if you like, because I am a very empathetic person. I'm the sort of person that years and years and years ago, there used to be a TV commercial for the Yellow Pages. That's how long ago I've watched TV commercials. And it used to be this elderly man, and he was like on a lawnmower, and they used to say, we think the garden's getting a little bit too much for you.
Yes.
I used to cry on that advert, and that was it. Then they flashed to the end, and he's driving around on an actual, it was one of those tricksy little adverts that made you think, oh no, they're going to sack him.
Yes.
But then they didn't. They bought him this super duper lawnmower.
Yeah.
But I used to cry.
Because you're an empath. Yes. Yeah.
So I'm just, for my own happiness, don't get into that. And as much as possible, I, filter it out. Or what I have been doing is using visualization of, images of things that I do want, but also with the sort of seeding technique of planting what it is that I want. to grow. And obviously, our minds do get a little overgrown and weeds. And I use my tapping every day, and I acknowledge some of the weeds that are there, and I know that I can pluck them out. And, and there's parts of my garden that are blooming and beautiful. And there's parts that I've got big plans for, and I know what I want to plant there. And, and so I am a visual person. I do like to do that. So every day and I've done this for over a year, I write down how I choose to feel. Mm-hmm. Usually I choose to feel full of radiant health and vitality. Sometimes I tap it in. Mm-hmm. So today I feel full of radiant health and vitality. I feel inspired, and I'm inspiring to others. That's kind of what I was
love it. It's awesome.
Yeah. Then I do my gratitude journal. So I love doing that. I love a bit of science as well. Mm-hmm. It's been scientifically proven that you can't be grateful and grumpy at the same time. So just your own happiness, just write down what you're grateful for. And, even I do it in the morning, but there is a great practice as well of, I read a brilliant book called, you maybe have read it, called The Happiness Advantage. I think it's Sean Acor is the author. I knew from the first moment when I read the first paragraph, and he talks about when he was a child, and he's about 7 years old, and his sister's maybe 3 or 4, she's younger, and they're playing, and their parents have said, go in your room, could you just play quietly, because we need a break, just for half an hour. So they're on the top bunk bed, and they're playing, and the way he tells the story is quite funny, because he's kind of like, I've got all my soldiers, she's got all her ponies and her unicorns, and he said, I don't really exactly know what happened in like a 7-year-old boy kind of a way, but she fell off the bed. I'm not sure if I pushed her because we were excited. But there's a moment when she hits the floor, and he said, I looked and I saw her face going into that shape of ready to cry, because she's hurt herself, because she's fallen a long way and she's really little. And he said, and in that moment, in my 7-year-old self, he said, I said to her, I don't know what her name is, but say if her name is Sarah. Sarah, oh my goodness, I don't believe it. You truly are a magical unicorn. Look at how you landed. His 7-year-old self then couldn't believe her reaction. He said her face and her mind, I could see she was having an inner battle. Am I going to cry? Am I in pain? Or, wow, am I actually a unicorn? And she obviously decided, you know what? Yeah, my brother just said that I landed like a unicorn. I'm a unicorn. She didn't cry.
Wow.
And that kind of like, that really, really young age. And I was just like, oh, I've got to read more. And there's a lot of scientific tests that are done throughout it. But one of the little techniques in there is that even when you think you've not had a great day, at the end of the day, to go back through it, scanning for the good things. So he uses these sort of like studies that have been done on people maybe that have jobs that are about finding mistakes.
Yes.
In life. Yeah. So say, for example, if you're someone that does auditing all day, every day.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
He said that someone he knew, he didn't intend to, but he said he realised he'd been keeping a spreadsheet of every time his wife did something wrong.
No!
Yeah, because that was his job. My relationship's not going to be great, is it?
No, you get what you focus in on. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Lawyers that go home and, what's the word, like giving... you know how lawyers speak in court? They do that to their children. So where were you at 10 o'clock?
Oh, my gosh.
Who were you with? And so he says that you really do need to, at the end of the day, go back and scan for the good things.
Absolutely.
So, scanning for the good things. So, so I do that, and then I do my qigong, mixed in with some movement, and I always add in what I call pliés of gratitude, which... as a ballet dancer, you'll know it's when you bend your knees, but it also is exactly what you do in Qigong. But me and my son, we bring in the things that we want. So if he's off to school, we breathe in knowledge and we let out wisdom, and, I'll bring grace.
Beautiful.
I just say, what do you want? And he always goes, you. And I go, let's breathe in family and let's let out love.
Oh, that's so lovely. But all of those things, that positivity, that mindset, and it is absolutely what you said about seeding and weeding. And it's really interesting that you used that analogy, because I did some work with my spiritual leadership mentor, coach, whatever you want to call them, the fabulous Julianne Hart. And we did some she did some channeling for me a couple of years ago, coming up for now, it was 18 months. And it's literally all about that. You know, what we put in, it's all about the seeding and the weeding and how we're nurturing and what we're looking at and how we, you putting in the sunshine and the rain and anything that's sort of, if you don't feed something, if you don't nurture it, if you don't look after it, it's not going to flower. But also there's an analogy that we use, and you'll get this as well, that the acorn is always the oak. It doesn't question.
Oh, God, that gives me goosebumps. Yes, I did a meditation so I do it every week. I have like a Zoom call that's very much more about the mindset side of things. I always do a bit of qigong, but it's mostly tapping and meditation. But we did one there where, because a lot of the ladies that I work with are very much into nature. They really, that's their place. If they're stressed out, they want to be out by a tree. Or
absolutely.
And I am very much like that as well. I'm either dancing or I'm outside. And if I can be outside dancing, that's even better.
Well, absolutely. Yeah.
And that did a beautiful one about visualizing an oak tree and then, seeing this acorn, but then realizing that inside of us is the mighty oak. The acorn doesn't look at the oak tree and say, why are you so big? Why are you so powerful?
No, exactly.
Compare. Yeah, and I absolutely love that. Yeah.
Yeah, well, we are, aren't we? Because, the thing is, we get, as you were mentioning about the sort of the external influences that we can succumb to, because, we're fed all this stuff all the time, but it's like shutting it out. It's like, no, I don't want to hear it. I'm not listening. I don't want to know, because you're feeding into fear. And coming back to the sort of the images that you're creating, life's an illusion of our own creation, and it's what we portray, what we want, and what we visualize and what we see for ourselves is what we get back. So, I could, look at my wallpaper that I've got here, which is very vibrant, and go, I don't like it, and get a really bad vibe from it. But I chose it, I love it, and I get a really warm feeling from it. Now, that's just a simple example, but it's how we view and how we look at the world. And like you were saying, going back on the day and all this sort of the perspective that we have on it, for all of the stuff that we have going on. I've just done this exercise for my reflection for 2021 and put it on my website. And it's like, I felt like I was in a stone tumbling machine for the best part of 2021. It was just absolutely chaos. But, this year I've decreed that it's much calmer, it's going to be much better. It's what we get ourselves involved in, but we can always change it at any given time if we choose to do so. We aren't our behaviour. And what you've done and how you've described it and explained it and integrating all of those elements is just absolutely magical, which is just it's lovely. So they're really good top tips for the listeners as well, aren't they? Which is
we're on the same wavelength. And I think as well, it's as I'm getting older and I'm realizing as human beings we have these gifts that other animals don't have, and we don't use them, and that these sort of like these laws of your thoughts that I think obviously I love the law of attraction. That is one of the laws that what I think magnetizes more of it to me. But there's two other laws that really recently I've been like, I love those two as well. The law of control, where you have the power to choose whether you want to entertain a thought or not.
Oh, absolutely.
That's empowering. Yeah, you can. It doesn't affect other people in that they can say whatever they like, but you have the power to choose. And also reacting, that we trying to be less reactive and be more responding to things. And, and the other one, the law of insertion, where I can insert whatever I like into my mind. So you'll love this one. I was doing last night, using it as an example, and you are a runner, but I am not a runner. And
well, I'm using a runner loosely.
I'm a horrible runner. But we did one where you literally just closed your eyes and imagined that you are a world-class runner. And that there's a race and you really want to win it, and that the other people in the race are all equally fabulous. And it was just, kind of seeding that thought of how does it feel knowing that you're going to win. And then you let it go.
Yes.
And then you went back in, had the same scenario, but you're going to lose. And then just acknowledging, how that felt, that you just knew you were going to lose. And then doing it a third time where you're in that first situation, you're going to win. There's total assurance, you're confident, but then actually winning. And so the difference being that one of them is kind of like a visualization, but it's in that present that it's happened. And there is a different kind of vibration between, clearly there's a big difference between how you feel when you think you can win something and how you feel when you think you can't.
Yes.
And that's what I think is, leads to procrastination and all these things which get us stuck, is when we don't think we can do it.
Exactly.
But again, there is a big difference between thinking we can do it and feeling as if it is done.
Yeah, but it's about channeling that. What you've been describing to me is some classic NLP techniques where you're going into the subconscious, where you're sort of experiencing something, you're future pacing it, and it's going through that exercise and it's anchoring the feeling that you've got when you've got that sensation of actually winning and what that feels like. And so you can sort of almost like click your fingers, or you have a sort of a technique that you draw upon to really channel back into that sensation, so that and you can use that before you go ahead, maybe before you go on stage, and you've already been there, you've already done it, you know what to experience. So when you go out on stage, it's not like oh my gosh, because you've been there, you know what you're going to experience, because you know the results, and you felt good. And do you know what? One of my adages is that what's the worst that can happen? It's a no anyway if you don't make the call. It's you just get on and do it.
Fine. I always say, what's the worst thing that happens? Someone says no.
Exactly. And do you know what? If somebody says no, that's fine. You move on. You change direction.
Yes.
I forever sort of going with the flow, and I don't get caught up into the sort of the detail, and I just sort of embrace whatever's sort of thrown at me, very much follow my instinct and my intuition. But there's so many tools and techniques that are available, but people have been bought into this sort of whole fear factor of not wanting to sort of break out, and equally so that this stuff that gets stuck in childhood and the years between 0 and 7, when you're sort of in your formative years, where you're consistently absorbing all of that's around you, and more often than not, there's stuff that happens today that was anchored in childhood, that was just some blocked energy that could clear, which removes that fear, which gives you that freedom to then go off and do the things that you want to do. I mean, you just classically just went, I'm going off to I went to an audition. I'm off to Mexico. See you. Bye.
Yeah, and that was before I really knew any of this. So I do think to an extent sometimes you naturally do these things.
Yes.
I realise I've been using the law of attraction for years, but it's only in
But I think you're an old soul. You see, Charlie. I mean, not everybody who's listening will probably buy into probably what our beliefs are, or certainly what my belief is. I don't want to speak for you, but I believe we have lots of different lifetimes, and I believe the human body is just a vehicle for a spirit experience. And so, therefore, if you're an old soul, you've had lots of experiences beforehand, which is why sometimes all this stuff comes naturally. And I know when I really sort of embarked on the journey I'm on, the section of the journey I'm on right now, which was in 2015 when I divorced my ex-husband after at the end of a 20-year relationship, and I sort of suddenly felt like this sponge absorbing everything. But it wasn't like I was learning anything. It was like I was reawakening that was already within me. I was going, that explains why I feel like that, and that's why I've recognised this, and that's why I acknowledge that. And it is about recognition, acknowledgement, and going with that inner feeling, not what somebody else is telling you what they think you should or shouldn't do, because that's just transference and their experience of the world, and then wanting probably potentially the best for you or not the best for you, but wanting to get you to sort of align with them, which is what very much my ex-husband was like. He wanted everybody to be like him, and I told him that would be a very boring world, a very scary world.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And I think when you said about childhood, that is something that really appeals to me with the tapping.
Yes.
I use that a lot for releasing, I had a lovely childhood, but you still realise that you've picked up like limiting beliefs along the way. Mm-hmm. You hear your parents arguing about money, and then you end up getting an overdraft when you get your first bank account, and then it kind of like reinforces that my family are not good with money, or all these different things.
Absolutely. And so you have to unlearn stuff.
And also, just like you said, letting go patterns from our ancestors.
Yes.
That it is so fascinating. But the more I do it, the more I realise that all the good stuff, the stuff that resonates with me, whoever I'm learning it from, because I'm not making it up, it's it's things that I'm learning on workshops and courses, and I'm going on such a kind of journey of learning as much as I can, that they're all actually sort of interwoven, and they're all saying the same thing pretty much. So whether I'm listening to Bob Proctor talk about the law of attraction, or I'm listening to John Kehoe talk about mind powers, they are actually both saying the same thing. It's just they say it in their own unique way.
Yeah, in a different language. Yeah,
and I love the idea of being a bridge. I'm sure you're the same.
Yeah.
We've had experiences in our lives where, if you think of a pit, there are periods of your life where you're at the bottom of this pit, and I had to find a way to get myself out of it. And what I love now is that if I see someone else who doesn't want to go in the pit, I go, hey, look, I've got a ladder that goes, or a bridge,
Yes.
a bridge, even better, a bridge that goes across it. So you don't need to go in the pit. You don't need to spend 20 years learning, all these self-growth techniques, because I can pot them down, show you the things that I found in my experience to work really well for me and for the women that I work with. And that just gives me such a sense of, going back to your question about happiness, that gives me such a sense of happiness and fulfillment, knowing that, yes, I can be happy about the opening of a box. I literally get happy about every single thing. I am very, very grateful for my life and for where I live and for my family and for my health. I'm grateful, and I share that every day. But the sense of fulfillment and being able to share that with others.
You used the analogy of a bridge, and I've always felt that for myself, that I feel like I've got a foot in both camps, from sort of the spiritual side without being sort of woo-woo, because I just thought it's all about universal energies in science. I mean, I'm reading a book at the moment. I can't see it, but it's to do with quantum gravity. Don't ask, I'm trying to read it. I'm absorbing the words.
It's all quantum physics. And when I've heard that word before in the past, and I was like, oh, that sounds really grown up. Sounds like I need to wear a white coat to read that book. And then, I read this one recently, Cybernetics.
Cybernetics.
The deluxe edition, no less. And that, totally fascinating. I love reading. And I realised that kind of everything in my life has kind of brought me to this stage that I'm at now. So all the things I think often when I'm speaking with women, certainly in what you do, Sarah, is that if you can reconnect with what those things were that you loved doing when you were a child, so for me it was dancing, and I love writing, and sitting up top of the horse chestnut tree and daydreaming. But I realised that all the things throughout my life, these little skills that I couldn't really see the relationship between them. So a period of my life when I ended up being a temp, and I had zero office skills.
I've been there as well. Our lives are so parallel, Charlie.
And yet now, running our own businesses, how helpful is it? Some of the things that I've gleaned along the way.
Absolutely.
But I would never have gone to a business school course, because I would have been like, well, I'm a ballet dancer, I'm creative, I do this. But certainly with Zoom and with all the technical stuff, and I put online courses up, I know you do, and write books. I need to know how to format something in Canva.
Oh yes, good old Canva. And even just getting on to do this recording today, we got there in the end, didn't we? Technical wise.
We did, but that was the technical. I don't think there's anything they could have taught us at college.
No. Well, I learnt to type on a manual typewriter, so that's how long ago it is since I did anything.
I did too, and but I only actually had one lesson in it. And then they took the typewriter back.
Oh my gosh, no, I had a 3-month typing course when it's a long time, many years ago. But yes, I learned to type on a manual typewriter, and I was moved on to I had to go on the golf ball as well. There was a golf ball typewriter. Gosh.
You see, I love that. Now you've just said that, I can hear the sound of the clicking.
Clackety, clackety, ding! Clackety,
and
clackety.
I must be the parent of one of the few children of his generation that was what he requested when he was younger, was an actual typewriter.
Oh,
we still have it on the bed. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
He just really was fascinated with them. And now he's, a whiz on the computer, but he didn't want like a laptop. He wanted, an original.
Oh, bless him.
Writer.
Oh,
yeah.
Wow. I mean, your life is just it's just beautiful. It's just amazing. And I'm just so grateful that we've connected and I've been able to have you as a guest on my podcast, but just getting to know you through the platform that we met on. And that's the beauty of online stuff as well, isn't it? The fact that, had we not had Zoom or the COVID and lockdown and things like that, the group wouldn't have been set up, and we wouldn't have connected, and we wouldn't be having this conversation now. There's so much that you can reflect back on, like you've already alluded to, and be grateful for, because things that have happened, and that's the beauty of shifting a gear or changing. And so many people stay in that sort of uncomfortable comfort zone, which comfort zones aren't comfortable. They're just, you get they're familiar, but they're not necessarily comfortable.
Yes.
But when you have something like this that has impacted globally, it makes people start to think differently. Well, that's the ideal, but that's another another discussion for another day.
You're making me think of Tony Robbins when he says, and I say this to me when there is things going on, I say life is happening for me, not to me. Yeah. And it is just a really great leveler. Just it's happening. It's all happening for me. It's not happening to me.
Exactly. And if you sort of go with it, I mean, I had a crazy time last year, and I took a step back in November and go, enough's enough. I need to sort of integrate. December I was very much about organisation, and this year is very much about strategy, but while still going with the flow. So I've got books that are in draft form and have been for the last 4 years, but I'm going to get those finished. The podcast will continue to sort of evolve and grow and spread globally, which is amazing. And I'm just so grateful to be able to do all of this and just be sort of peaceful with everything, and just really enjoy and get that balance and tune into my body more, which is why I've been walking this morning, not running, and just sort of tuning in. But what I was going to come around to, because obviously I asked you what makes you a happy person, I was going to ask you what top tips you'd got for the listeners, but you've gone through loads of things like that.
I have covered them, I think.
I think you've covered all of those.
I mean, I pop them up as just saying, keep a gratitude journal, decide how you want to show up for the world, how you want to show up for the world, for yourself and for others, because whilst we cannot alter other people's opinions, and it's just not even worth, I think, trying to convince someone of something, that they're not open to. But we can choose how we react to others.
Absolutely.
And we can choose how we want to show up. So, it's like that, the thing of like, when are you going to start acting successful? When you are successful? It's like, no, sow the seeds of being successful or happy or whatever it is. Now, sow them. I will leave you with one other little, great little, because of me and my gardening analogy. Imagine a farmer sitting beside a field, and you ask him what he's waiting for, and he says, I'm expecting a massive crop of corn. Mm-hmm. But he hasn't sown any corn seeds.
Yes.
He is waiting for just proof. If one shoot comes up, then he'll sow the corn. But yeah, that's what we do. We're like, give me proof, universe, give me proof that I'm making the right choices. Give me proof that and it's like, no, sow the seeds first of all.
Exactly.
What it is that you want. So yes, so I would suggest that, and move your body in whatever way it is. So, obviously I love my ballet and the qigong. You love real running. Mm. I love walking out in nature when it's warm. I love swimming in the sea. Just get out in nature and
definitely
just be happy.
How do people contact you if they want to get in touch with you and hear more about your sort of Chi Ballet?
If you go on mastermind.com, that's the platform that I host, and you just put in Chi Ballet and what I've got will come up. That's probably the easiest place. Or on Facebook, I've got my Chi Ballet, Body of a Ballerina, Mind of a Monk. It's a private group, but I can let people in.
I think you should have an icon on your website that pops up with a tutu. I think that should have a little icon, little tutu skirt.
Don't go giving me any more ideas.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much again. And yes, we shall have to book in a virtual coffee soon, and then book in a real life meetup. But thank you so much for being a fabulous guest. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much, Charlie.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
It's been fun.
Thanks for listening to the Harnessing Happiness podcast with Sarah J Naylor. If you took value from the content, please follow the show on your podcast app. And to find out more about Sarah's ape mindset, visit sarahjnaylor.com.